Let's be real for a moment. There are things women quietly hope men will do. Things they rarely admit because saying them out loud can sound confusing, contradictory, or even wrong. They want a man who can take charge, but not overpower them. They want attention, but only from someone they deeply respect. And sometimes, the very behaviors they claim to dislike are the ones that actually make their pulse quicken. In this video-style breakdown, we're going to uncover 7 hidden things women secretly wish men would do, rooted in the deeper layers of female psychology. These aren't about disrespect. They're about understanding the instinctive, emotional side of attraction. The part she keeps behind polite answers, social rules, and phrases like, "I don't like that." Stay with me until the end, because number 7 touches the core emotional instinct that shapes attraction more than anything else. Before we dive in, let's clear one thing up. This is not about games. It's not about tricking anyone or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding the patterns that quietly drive how people bond and desire. Patterns that exist whether we talk about them or not. Most men go through life listening to what women say they want, while completely ignoring what women actually respond to. That gap between words and reality is where so many men lose before they even start. If you're ready to look past the surface and really understand what creates emotional pull, let's begin. 1. She secretly wants you to lead with calm confidence, not control. Even the most self-reliant woman feels a deep pull toward a man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to take the lead. She can fully support equality in a relationship and still, on an emotional level, feel drawn to steady, grounded masculine leadership. When you make decisions smoothly, when you guide the moment instead of throwing every choice back at her, you awaken something instinctive in her. It's not about owning her or dominating her. It's about giving her something she rarely gets in her day-to-day life, the feeling that she can finally relax. Every day she's choosing what to wear, what to eat, how to reply to messages, how to handle stress, how to keep everything together. Her mind is always switched on. When she's with you deep down, she doesn't want to manage one more thing. She wants to exhale. She wants to feel that you can steer, so she doesn't have to. When you say, "Don't worry, I've got a place in mind. Let's go there," instead of, "I don't know, and what do you want to do?" When you gently guide her through a crowded room with a hand on her back. When you make a choice in an uncertain moment without freezing or begging for reassurance. You're giving her something rare, the freedom to just be. The mistake many men make is confusing leadership with bossiness. Real leadership isn't about barking orders or trying to control her. It's about being so centered and sure of yourself that she naturally feels comfortable following your lead. The more she senses that you can handle life without needing her to constantly direct you, the more attraction becomes automatic. This is why the overly nice guy who constantly asks permission for everything, who pushes every decision onto her, ends up draining her emotionally. Not because he's kind, but because he adds to her mental load instead of easing it. Healthy leadership is a gift, the gift of letting her soften because she trusts your direction. Second, she wants you to tease her playfully, not harshly. Most men live at two extremes, either too polite and careful or too cold and distant. But what many women secretly enjoy is the sweet spot in between. A man who can tease her, lightly, playfully, confidently, keeps her emotionally engaged. Playful teasing creates tension, and that tension is addictive. It makes her replay the moment later, smiling to herself. When you tease her well, you're sending some subtle messages. You're not intimidated by her beauty or presence. You're relaxed enough to joke with her. You're not trying to impress her with flattery alone. You're inviting a fun back and forth. For example, she says she's running late. Response A: "It's okay, no worries, take your time." Response B: "Let me guess. You tried on half your closet and still weren't satisfied." The first is safe and neutral. The second is playful, familiar, and sparks feeling. Teasing like this makes her feel seen in a fun way. It pulls her into a little emotional dance with you. But there's a crucial line you never cross. Teasing must come from warmth, not cruelty. Playful. I know you're trouble, but I'll risk it. Hurtful. You're so dramatic, no wonder people can't stand you. One makes her feel alive and connected, the other makes her feel attacked. Done right, teasing builds more chemistry than a dozen generic compliments, because it shows you have personality, confidence, and social intelligence. 3. She actually wants to chase you a little, even if she'll never admit it. Here's a psychological truth. People value what they invest in. When a man is constantly available, overly eager, and always the first to reach out, something quiet happens in her mind. The thrill fades. It's not that she's unkind. It's that her brain stops getting that little rush that comes from earning someone's attention. If everything is handed to her without effort, it doesn't feel precious. But when you have your own life, your own focus, and she has to lean in a bit, she feels more drawn. You're not disappearing. You're simply not orbiting around her. When you reply when you're genuinely free, when you have days where you're focused on your work, your training, your hobbies, when you're not always the one starting every conversation, she starts thinking about you more. Why hasn't he messaged yet? What's he doing? Is he thinking about me? That curiosity is not manipulation. It's a natural response to someone who has a full life. The key is authenticity. If you're being distant while doing nothing meaningful with your time, it feels fake. But if you're genuinely busy building something, your career, your body, your skills, your purpose, your attention becomes naturally scarce. That's what makes it valuable. The less she feels she automatically has you, the more she appreciates it when she does. 4. She's drawn to a man with depth and a controlled edge. Women are attracted to contrast. They want a man who's kind, but not weak, calm, but not passive, gentle with her, but not easily pushed around by the world. That edge doesn't mean being aggressive or unsafe. It means having strength and intensity under the surface, combined with self-control. Throughout history, women needed partners who could protect, stand firm, and handle threats. That old instinct still echoes today. In modern terms, this looks like standing up for yourself when someone disrespects you, handling conflict without collapsing or exploding, having a seriousness in your eyes when it counts, even if you're usually relaxed. She wants to feel that you could be dangerous, but that you choose to be gentle with her, that you're firm with the world and soft with her. It's not the darkness itself that pulls her in. It's that you own it instead of it owning you. Any man can lash out, but a man who has power and restraint, that's rare, and rare is attractive. 5. She wants you to give her a little space from your attention. It sounds strange, but it's true. If she gets your attention every second she wants it, it loses impact. When you occasionally don't reply instantly, when you're busy and she doesn't hear from you for a bit, that gap makes her feel something. Again, this is not about playing games. It's about having a life. If you're always staring at your phone, ready to respond within seconds, you send a silent message. I have nothing going on that matters more than your latest notification. But when you sometimes take an hour or two to reply because you're in the gym, working, reading, with friends, or just present in your own world, your presence starts to feel more valuable. She begins to miss it when it's not there. She starts checking her phone for your name. That slight unpredictability keeps things alive, not unreliability, not vanishing, just enough independence that she feels she's sharing you with a meaningful life, not owning all of you by default. When your attention is something she earns and appreciates, not something she expects automatically, her attraction deepens. 6. She needs you to say no sometimes. Many men think constant agreement keeps the peace and makes her happy. In reality, it often does the opposite. A woman quietly respects a man who has boundaries, who can calmly say no when something doesn't sit right with him, not with anger, not with drama, Just a grounded, steady, "That doesn't work for me." Why is this so powerful? Because it shows you don't live for her approval. It shows you have a spine. It shows you're willing to risk a bit of discomfort rather than betray your own values. She might test you, pushing a little, asking for more than is fair, seeing if you'll bend, not always consciously, but emotionally. When you stand firm, you become more attractive, not less. She doesn't truly want a man she can control. She wants a man she can't knock off his center. Every time you refuse to be disrespected, hold to your plans when her last-minute changes aren't reasonable. Stay calm but firm when something crosses your line. You send a clear message. I respect you, and I respect myself too. And self-respect is magnetic. Seventh, deep down, she wants to feel emotionally claimed, through trust, not force. Here's the deepest layer. Women do not want to be controlled. They don't want to be owned as objects. But emotionally, many women crave the feeling of belonging to someone they truly trust. Not as property, as a choice. They want to feel like, I'm his, and he's mine. Not because he demands it, but because the connection is that strong. She wants a man who sees who she really is behind the masks, accepts the parts of her she's afraid to show, makes her feel safe enough to be soft, emotional, imperfect. When you create that level of emotional safety, when your presence feels like somewhere she can finally put her guard down, that's when she gives you something incredibly rare, her full heart. Not because you forced her into it, but because you earned it. This has nothing to do with ownership in a physical sense. It's about depth. It's about being so consistent, so grounded, so present, that she feels a bond with you that goes far beyond casual attraction. When she feels understood, protected, chosen, and knows you're not going to abuse that trust, her loyalty becomes powerful. At that point, you're not just the man she likes. You're the man she can't imagine replacing. Now you've heard the 7 hidden things many women quietly wish men would do. Not dirty in the shallow sense, but deeper psychological habits that stir emotion, tension, and devotion. Most women will never openly list these because they're afraid of being judged or misunderstood. But when you learn to read between the lines, you start to see a pattern. They respond to strength. They respond to boundaries. They respond to independence. They respond to depth. This isn't about twisting anyone's emotions. It's about understanding human nature and becoming the kind of man who naturally inspires respect and attraction. When you lead with calm confidence, when you can tease without hurting, when you have your own life, your own mission, when you say no instead of betraying yourself, when you build a connection deep enough for her to fully trust you, you're not playing games. You're simply stepping into your real power, and once you understand this side of attraction, you won't just look at women differently. You'll look at yourself differently. You'll see that you don't have to beg, chase, or pretend. You just have to become the grounded, honest, unshakable version of yourself, the version that women quietly hope to meet, but rarely do. Stay focused, stay authentic, and remember, the more you respect your own value, the harder you are to forget.